we've been doing a lot of work preventing unlawful eviction. The moratorium was announced to be extended to August 20th. That will absolutely help individuals who find themselves financially in dire straits, still needing to have secure, healthy housing. Tenants and landlords have responsibilities. Tenants, the moratorium doesn't mean that you don't have to pay rent. It's still a contractual obligation for you. So you should be working with your landlord on how you can do that. We've gotten many emails and calls from landlords who are not requiring their tenants to pay rent, but there are others who are, and so you should be working with your landlord, the property owner, to figure out how you can pay anything on your rent. But that continues to be your obligation. The moratorium did not take that obligation away from you. Likely. Similarly, landlords, you have a responsibility. You need to continue to make the apartment that you have tenants in safe, habitable, and you are not allowed during the moratorium to evict individuals. So we both, on both sides, whether it be tenants or landlords, have obligations and responsibilities to each other during this troubling time. The New York State Attorney General has provided information that helps us understand that unlawful eviction is a crime, as opposed to what we typically think about as a code violation. It is actually a crime. And so Sally Curran is going to talk with us about this a little more. Sally?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sally Curran. I'm the Executive Director of the Volunteer Lawyers Project of Onondaga County. We provide access to justice by engaging the legal community and volunteer service to those in need. And really, I come here today on behalf of all of the legal aid providers in town who are all working very diligently to uphold the rights of tenants and to make sure that the essentials of life are addressed even in these most critical of times. So we are there with Hiscox Legal Aid, Legal Services of Central New York, Legal Aid Society of Mid-New York, all working together to provide assistance with family law, employee rights, unemployment insurance. I'll just say, as these people are working their way through the unemployment insurance system, it is likely that they'll have denials eventually. Right now, there's no hearings on those, but when they are, we're expecting a lot of cases. And if you're a lawyer and want to take on a volunteer case, please let us know. We're doing a training next week about it. All of us, we don't have all of our numbers up right now, but I can say if you need a free lawyer in any matter, even if you've never been qualifying for a free lawyer before, but now you don't have money to pay for a lawyer, you can call 211, say you need to speak with a free lawyer, and they'll connect you with one of our agencies. So I'm here to talk about evictions, and I'm here to talk about unlawful evictions. First, I just want to emphasize what the deputy mayor just said as well, which is that the eviction moratorium from New York courts goes through June 19th. In addition, the federal government has said that there are no evictions for not paying rent in federally subsidized housing, so public housing, Section 8, things like that, until August 24th. Yesterday, Governor Cuomo additionally issued a new executive order. Part of that order applies to everyone. It says that there can be no late fees for the time between March 20th and August 20th, and also that you can enter an agreement with your landlord to have the security deposit that you gave used to pay rent. Part of that order applies to people who are eligible for unemployment or who are facing financial hardship due to COVID-19. And I can say we know that that's at least 50% of our community that that's the case for. Then your landlord must allow you to apply the security deposit to rent, and your landlord cannot try to evict you for not paying rent until after August 24th. And we're waiting for the courts to respond to this order to perhaps extend the whole moratorium, but that's not been done yet. So who does this apply to? If you've lost hours due to COVID-19, if you've lost a job, this applies to you. And we, the legal aid providers, strongly encourage you to let your landlord know in writing that you're facing financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that you keep a copy of that communication, however you communicated it, text, email, letter, keep a copy of it for the future. It's all a little bit tricky, and if you're a renter and you're wondering if this all applies to you or how it may apply to you, please call one of us. We are happy to look at your individual situation and let you know what your rights are. I now want to talk about unlawful evictions. This is particularly important. We've been getting more and more calls about landlord harassment and threats of unlawful evictions. This is on the rise as people are unable to pay for their rent. Unlawful evictions, as Ms. Owens mentioned, are a crime. That's been true since June of last year. And the law says anyone who's a lawful occupant. So what does that mean? You have a lease. It can be verbal, it can be written, you're a lawful occupant. If you've lived in that dwelling, as we call it, for at least 30 days, you're a lawful occupant. And who is not allowed to try to evict you? Anyone is not allowed to try to evict you without having gone to court and gotten an eviction warrant. They can be charged with a Class A misdemeanor, which can result in going to jail for up to a year and having to pay $1,000 to $10,000 per incident. The Attorney General is issuing new guidances on this today. I strongly encourage all landlords to read that. It's very informative. So the most common example of what we're talking about is your landlord changes your locks, or they show up and they throw everything that you have out on the lawn. That one is obviously an unlawful eviction, but it also applies to family members, friends, co-tenants, sublessees, and others who have been living in the home for at least 30 days. And many more things also apply here. If your landlord turns off essential utilities like heat, like water, like electricity, if your landlord threatens to use force, if they remove the door or make it so the lock doesn't work. We have seen and heard reports of all of these things happening. And it even can include repeatedly calling you at all hours, demanding you to leave, repeatedly banging on the doors, yelling at the tenant, and repeated demands to get out when they know that they don't have a lawful right to get you out. If any of this happens, please call the police immediately. You also can call one of our legal aid attorneys, and we will help you file an emergency action in court so that you can get back into that house. But it's important that you act right away. Also, again, if you're experiencing unsafe conditions in the house due to code violations, please call codes. They are still addressing urgent health and safety issues in the home, and you have a right to safe housing, even if you're unable to pay for rent. New York has many other protections for renters, and we just don't have time to go through all of them right now. I want you to know that if your landlord tries to raise your rent, refuses to renew your lease, tells you that you have to move out or anything like that, please call us. We'll make sure that the right process is being followed and that your rights are protected. That new law this past June extended many more protections for tenants. And finally, I do want to emphasize as well that when this is over, rent will likely be due, and the best way you can ensure that you won't face eviction at that time is to be current on your rent. So call 211 to connect with any of us, and we're also working on creating a unified intake line for you to connect with all of our organizations about housing issues, because we know this issue is getting more serious by the day. Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe.
Thank you, Sally. I just want to emphasize the last thing she said. All of our renters, At the end of the moratorium, rent will be due. So please reach out to all of our fine legal housing advocates, because they're here to help you. So please reach out. Go to 211 and they'll get you to these good folks, okay?